Hey guys, TroutFlies here with a fly tying tutorial. Today we're going to be tying my new Stillwater pattern, the TF Balanced Leech. This fly's been super productive for me on our local Stillwaters. I've primarily been fishing it under an indicator, but it'd work great on a midge tip or slow stripped in. If you're not a fly tyer, of course, like all my patterns are available at my shop at TroutFliesUtah.com. But if you are a tyer, I encourage you to tie up a few. It's been just an absolute dynamite pattern. In the vise, I've got an Umpqua XC400BL-BN. This is a great little jig hook, super sharp. For a bead, I've got a Inverting black nickel 4mm tungsten bead. To balance out this fly, we're using Egan's Half-wit method, which means putting the bead on the hook, big entry side towards the eye. This will help the bead get its weight up ahead of the eye and balance out your fly when it's hanging from your rig. It'll balance perfectly, sits perfectly horizontal. Honestly, this half-wit method is a game changer in the balanced fly world. For thread, I'm using Semperfli Classic Waxed 8/0 in black. I built up a little bit of a thread dam behind the eye and put a little bit of fly tire cement to secure the thread dam and the thread wraps. This fly does tend to slip with its thread wraps if you don't do this step, so this is a must. For an extra level of security, I've got a piece of 015 lead-free wire that I've tied in parallel to the hook. This will also give something for that thread dam to get pushed up against so it won't slip either. It's pretty much like extra level of security just because these thread wraps do like to move. So I'm putting a little bit of more glue on the thread wraps here. So it's pretty much a must do when tying in with these inverting beads on these jig hooks. Anyways, we're going to take our thread back to right where the bend of the hook starts. For a leech tail, we're using whiting hen hackle feathers. Any of these colors work. Any combination you can think of for a leech would work great. For this red-black one, I'm using a wild type brown Hebert minor pen saddle feather. And measuring it so the feather's about the length from the tip of the bead to the bend of the hook. I'm doing a few loose wraps and tying the feather in upside down because the fly's going to ride hook point up. If you do a few loose wraps like this and then get it situated on top and pull, it'll make sure it rides in the orientation you want it to. I've stripped off the feather for easier tie-in as well. For a little bit of flash and extra movement, we're going to add a couple strands of Flashabou. We're going to do one strand of red doubled over on each side and one strand of black Flashabou doubled over on each side. This will just add a little bit of extra fish pulling power and movement. And it looks nice. So here I'm just tying in each strand individually to each side of the tail. You could do this all at once, but I have a little bit better luck with getting the orientation correct by tying in each strand on its own. Once I got the strands tied in, I'm just going to snip them off about the length of the hackle feather. So let's take this time to talk a little bit about tails on balanced leeches. I know a lot of your standard leech patterns use Marabou for tails, and I was looking to do something a little bit different. I think Marabou is a great material for getting that pulsating action especially when it's moving through the water column or moving horizontally, but I don't think it fishes that great under an indicator. It kind of puffs out and kind of gets disjointed and doesn't have that really leech look once it's underwater. So I think the hen hackle feather is a better representation of the leech profile. That being said, I'm using the tip fibers of a black marabou feather tied in with the hook flipped over in the vise, so on top of the feather, just to aid in a little bit of the transition between the dud body and the hen hackle feather tail. Will make the fly just feel a little more full-bodied. For the leech body, we're using Arizona Diamond Dub, black red, in a dubbing loop. Here I'm just getting the fibers somewhat lined up. You can get this effect by pulling them straight out of the bag with a little bit of tension as well. And I'm just building up a slight cone shape with these fibers on my desk, and we're going to put it in a clip and then in a dubbing loop. This is too much dubbing. We're going to pick a lot of it out later, but I like to start with more than I need and pick it out versus worrying I'm not putting enough in. So here I'm just splitting the thread with bodkin and inserting the clip into the split thread dubbing loop. I'm kind of evening it out, making sure there aren't that many gaps, and I'm gonna spin it up. Again, there's too much dub in this, but that's it. As designed, we're going to pluck them out until we get kind of a rope that looks about that sparse. We're going to start at the tail and make touching wraps forward, every few wraps printing the fibers back towards the tail. If you planned it out, you'll get enough of the dubbing loop just up behind the bead. So you can keep this as buggy or as slim as you want. Here, I think this is still too much. I try to get the longer fibers off of it so it doesn't become a huge unruly mess. I try and slim it down a little bit. So I'm going to take some time to pick out the longer fibers and get it looking how I want it to. For a collar, we're using a black Squirrel Zonker, and I'm just putting it in a material clip and clipping off a short section of it. And we're going to be putting this in a split thread dubbing loop as well. The diamond dub kind of fills out the body, and then the squirrel collar kind of gives it just a little bit more of that pulsating, vibrating action. So I'm just kind of getting the fibers evenly spread out in our dubbing loop, twisting it up, and then we're going to just create a little collar. This one got a little unruly on me, so I'm going to have to preen some of these fibers back and get them into place so they're all kind of splayed back. Sorry, this is all fingers here. This is a little easier if you leave yourself a little bit more room behind the bead. I got him in an orientation I like, so I'm going to go ahead and whip finish off this fly. And that's your TF balanced leech. I call this color the balanced life leech. Here's one I've tied in an olive. And here's one in the bruised mana leech color. Anyways, like I said, this fly is available on my site at TroutFliesUtah.com. I encourage you to tie up a few. Now we're going to be getting into a few fish catches. There we go. Double. We're doubled up. Dude, they are super shallow. Oh, this is a good one. Oh, where's my net? Cool.
Oh, dude.
Huh.
I feel like I need to tie a mouse on.
Go ahead. Oh, that tooth got me. Oh. There we go. Good old indicator rig. Out in the middle of nowhere, pretty much. This one's not happy. Might be a decent cut. Wonder what he's on. Another fish rose out in the middle. See what this is. I think it's a bow, maybe? That's a nice bow. Look like it's, yeah, leech. Okay. Nice. That's a pretty bow. Pick the balanced leech. Just a little black and red one. Cool.